if we have all the presenters. The first one is George Mungani. Thank you. The second one is Elizabeth Karim. The third, Caroline Gaki. Yes, great. Those are the first ones. Morning session 14. Yes. So those are the people we will listen to. The presentation itself will last for how long? 15 minutes. And then questions. Questions at the end. So we give all the reactions and then we ask questions. That will save us a bit of time. So that we begin, I kindly request the backbenchers to promote themselves a little bit so that I'm a teacher by profession, so that the people who embrace you, that is the people who are presenting, can be able to make good contact with you. So, naomba kwa heshima kubwa kuja mbele kidogo. To make it easier for our presenters. Only that side, only the soldier will not come in front. The others just tafadhali. Then when we begin presentations, my co-chair and me will have a timer so that we keep the time, and we'll notify you 2 minutes before. But as is our tradition, I think I'll ask one of the members in the audience to play for us so that we begin well. And I'll tell them two of them. A student, if there is any courageous one. I'm not a player or you're born again. I want to give you this chance. A volunteer?
Good morning. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we pray this morning. We thank you for this good day that you have given us today. Heavenly Father, receive all the glory, receive all the honor for the universe this morning. We just want to pray for the Nobel University, Science and Technology Management, and all our people who have been in this conference. Dear Father, thank you for the work and bless them. We want to commit this day unto your hands that you be with us as we start these presentations and the day long with us. May we do it for the betterment of our country and in the world at large. In Jesus' name I pray and believe. Amen.
Thank you so much. So without much ado, can you guys turn the phone? Have you all read your presentations? I hope so. If you haven't, you'll go to them. Ngani. The first presenter.
she can stand so that you can see her. Also, Dr. Joy Yobu, Dr. Kireni, and Dr. Stephen Karanja. I don't think they are here. Those are our supervisors. Now, the introduction for this one, first of all, we have the SDG2 advocate for the zero hunger in agriculture, that is for food security, promoting sustainable agriculture, global food insecurity persists. That is about 2 billion people do not get enough micronutrients. Now, agriculture, especially tilapia, offers a sustainable protein solution. Then there's a problem with it because of the increased cost of production and also overfishing. So that is the other thing that is a problem. Now we have black soldier fly larvae, which shows some promise in low cost and eco-friendly substitute instead of the fish meal. Now, previous studies confirm that calcium ESFL use is viable, but optimal inclusion levels in therapy remain unclear. Those are some of the studies that were done in 2020. Now, the objective of this research is to evaluate the effect of partially replacing fish meal with black soldier fly larva meal, and to identify the best replacement ratio without affecting the growth performance in the live tilapia fish. Now, ours is a null hypothesis. There is no significant difference in the growth performance of the tilapia when fish meal, that is FM, is partially replaced with black soldier fly larva meal. Now, as you can see, this is that is actually the larvae of the black soldier, which grows best at the condition of between 28 and 30 degrees and a humidity of about 60 to 70%, which is the conditions at the university year. So the substrate that we used was the fecal sludge and the organic waste. Then we did the processing, that is sieving, washing, and drying. Then we defattened. We removed most of the fat that was there. Now we formulated 3 types of diet. Now the first one did not have any larvae. That is the black soldier larvae meal. That is, you can see the first one does not, it is actually 0. The second one, that is the first meal, which has 0 grams of the black soldier meal. Then the second one, 50%, which is 12 grams from the 24. So that one was replaced with 50%. Then the last one, the last diet, that is 3 and 24 grams, meaning that it is 100%. Now, all ingredients were ground and thoroughly mixed to produce a uniform feed blend. Distilled water was added to form a duff so that it can be able to defend to the fish. It was made like a pellet. Because if you will give these feeds, if they are not in a form of floating, a fish is not going to be able to feed on them. Then we did some cages, the ones we are calling uppers. We had 9 of them, and then we had about 270 fingerlings, which we obtained from the University of we got them actually from the speaker. Yes. Then we placed about 90 of them. Every upper we put that fish, and then we had 3 liters, they are our diet. And the feeding time was between, that was 2 times a day. We fed them at 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. every day. Then the quality of water was maintained because we know this is a freshwater fish. So we had aeration and recirculation. Now the growth performance within the range, that is, we are measuring the range every 2 weeks and also the weight. We also determined the survival rate for the fish within the statistical analysis using ANOVA. Now, as you can see, the result, that is the result for diet 1, 2, and 3. So we did those analyses on survival rate, that is on the percentages, the mean length gain, the initial mean weight, final mean weight, body weight, daily weight gain, specific growth rate, relative growth rate, feed conversion rate for all the feeds that was done. Now, as you can see, the survival rate for all of them in the green diet was about 83%, meaning that it was high. But then you can see for the 50%, the survival rate was 95.56%. BSFL mean that we have bioactive components such as uric acid and micropeptides and chitin that may enhance growth and immune responses, improve gut health. So this is why you see that at 50%, the survival rate is higher compared to the other one. Now you can also see that the mean length gain was significantly influenced by composition. Fish feed on diet 1 exhibiting the highest mean length growth. That is the feed that contained only the fish meal. Now in diet 3, it differed significantly from both 2 and 1. Now this one aligns with the other studies which were done by WUCO in 2024. Then diet 1 and 2 was not statistically significant in terms of body weight and relative growth, which means we can replace at between 25 and 75% as shown by other growth. Those, as you can see, with our 50%, there was no significant difference with fish meal. Now, the reason for this complete BSFL meal and diet may lack some factors found in fish meal or contain anti-nutritional components. And this is the reason why you are seeing where we have replaced 100% with black soldier fried larvae, we have reduced growth instead of the 50%. The lowest conversion ratio was recorded in diet 1, followed by diet 2, but both of them were significantly lower than diet 3. The Puhara FCE with 100% will reflect the same issues affecting the growth, growth stability due to shipping and energy density diet. Now, in conclusion, a partial replacement of at 50% of fish meal with BSFL meal can sustain or even enhance. So we are saying that we can be able to use this black soldier fry to replace up to 50%, which is actually optimum for the growth. However, excessive replacement, that is 100%, that is diet 3, may negatively affect growth efficiency, suggesting the need to optimize inclusion levels for commercial application. So what that means is that if you give it 100%, then the growth rate is going to be compromised. Now the recommendation is that BSFL meal can be integrated into circular economy by using organic waste to raise the larvae, which are then processed into sustainable fish food. And I think that is the end of our study, which we are doing at the university. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Morgan. We'll call you at the end to come in. Please note any questions you want to ask him, so that when I call him, you will have specific questions to him. So, Morgan has done very well in terms of time. He has saved us a few minutes. Thank you. Elizabeth?
Optimizing black soldier fly for management of organic waste. A bit of introduction on the topic. Safe sanitation is important to all of us, especially for our health, to the environment, and also for the development of any country. SDG 6 actually targets that by the year 2030, the world will be able to provide safe sanitation for all of us. When you look at the statistics globally, you find that about 3.5 people, they lack civilly managed sanitation, while 19 million people are still practicing open defecation. In Africa, only 60% is able to access safe sanitation, while back at home, Kenya, only about 32% people are able to access safe sanitation, while about 8% people are still practicing open defecation. In Kenya also, only 17% of our population is able to access sewerage coverage, that is the conventional coverage, and the rest of us are depending on what is called container-based sanitation. But then, even when we are depending on what is available, that is container-based sanitation, only 18% of whatever is produced from the container-based sanitation gets treated so that it can get disposed or even reused. And therefore, there is need for a sustainable solution that is able to treat this kind of waste that comes from this kind of technology. This is where now the black soldier fly comes in, presenting a practical solution for organic waste management and also resource recovery. The problem statement, BSF is reared on suboptimal, when BSF is reared on suboptimal conditions, then there is a challenge due to the many conditions under which it is reared, especially the post-feeding stage that we are looking at. This study, therefore, investigated on the optimum production of BSF that can be achieved at the non-feeding stages. The general objective was to assess the optimization of black soldier fly in a small-scale institution facility, and the specific objectives were to determine the color preference of BSF while ovipositing, that is laying the eggs, and also assess the space requirement. How much space does it require to lay eggs and even to emerge, because that is the stage they emerge and then they are able to lay eggs, and also to determine which feed substrate is best for them to emerge and also lay maximum eggs. Some literature review on the same. So BSF is suitable for tropical climates that exist in our country, Kenya, and it is able to convert waste at a rate of 50 to 80% while producing very minimum odor. It has a short life and its mouth is redundant, so there is no risk of it being a vector of disease. The materials and methods that we used. The study site was Mary University of Science and Technology, the Sanitation Research Institute, and the facilities that we used were the container-based fecal waste collection. That one is at the SRI, and also the breeding unit. The design was experimental. The fecal matter we collected from the container-based facility, which is at the SRI, and the kitchen waste, we got it from the student cafeteria in Mary University. The procedure for testing the color preference, we had 1 kg of pupae was placed in a plastic container with those measurements. The container was placed in a breeding cage, and then the process was monitored until the first flies appeared. At that point, an attractant was prepared using maize germ and some water, left for some time so that it can ferment and be able to attract the flies, and put in the cage. We used some plastic grooved pipes to collect the eggs. The pipes were of different colors. We had a white, yellow, blue, and black. The egg weight was taken after every 2 days, and the pipes cleaned, and then they were replaced. This monitoring was done until all the eggs were laid, and then replicated 3 times for each color. Then for the space requirement, we had 3 cages sizes with the dimensions that are shown there. 1 kg of pupae was placed in a container with those measurements, and then this was monitored until we had the first emergence of the flies. At that point also an attractant was prepared using the same procedure that was used in the experiment 1, and placed to collect the eggs. The eggs were weighed after every 2 days. For adult emergence, using the same cage was monitored also after every 2 days, and this was done by taking 50 grams of the pupae, and then they were counted by looking at the pupil asks. That is, those that are emerged, the asks were counted to represent the adults that are already emerged. The process was repeated for three times for every cage. For the substrate effect on the adult emerging and the egg laying, three treatments were prepared of substrates. That is the fecal, the kitchen waste, and then there was a mixture of the two. Then the BSF, there was 1 kg of 5-day-old larvae was introduced to each of the feed substrate. The feeding was done until the pupal stage, and we were able, the pupal stage is identified by larvae turning into black, changing the color because the larvae are green. And now the larvae now was weighed and transferred now to other containers. There are other containers, and then they were put in cages, in different cages. That means there was a cage and the larvae that were fed from fecal waste. There was a cage and larvae that were fed on kitchen waste, and another one on the mixture of the two. Then the adult emergence was monitored after every 2 days using the same method that was used in the other experiment. And also the eggs, the laying of the egg was monitored after every 2 days. This experiment was also replicated for 3 days. And these are the results that we got. For the color preference, as shown on that table, color significantly affected the position of the BSF. Actually, the BSF preferred dark colors because black and the highest, followed by blue, then white and yellow, which indicates that visual cues influence on the position site of the BSF. For the space, space did not affect adult emergence. So from the biggest, the medium, and even the smallest cage, and the same rate of BSF emerging, but it significantly affected the laying of the eggs. The larger cage and most eggs, or the smaller cage, resulted to fewer weight of the eggs, lower weight of the eggs, I mean. For the substrate, the feed substrate also did not affect how the rate of BSF emerging, but the feed substrate affected the amount of eggs that were collected. A combination of the fecal and kitchen waste resulted to more eggs, followed by the kitchen waste only, the fecal waste, and the least amount of eggs collected. The conclusion is BSF can be optimized when they are fed on nutrient-rich substrates, like a mixture of fecal and organic or kitchen waste, when they are provided with the correct site or trap to lay eggs, and also if they are reared in adequate space. Further investigation is also recommended on other factors that affect BSF emerging and repositioning. We also observed when we were carrying out this experiment that while collecting eggs, there were other parasites that would come in and also lay eggs on the same trap. And also in the cages, there were BSF that would last more in some cages more than the others, so that can be investigated further. Those are some of the references used, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for that presentation.
Now, my presentation is a bit different. I'll start with the abstract. Now, in the abstract, you find that tobacco is one of the cash crops that is grown in Bungoma County. The other cash crops being sugarcane, cotton, coffee, and sunflower. Now, this study examined the relationship. This study examined the relationship between tobacco growing and food security in Malakisi, which is in Bungoma County, with the aim of establishing if there was a relationship between household food security and tobacco growing. Now, tobacco, Bungoma County is one of the major tobacco growing zones. The other zones are Busia, Migori, Homa Bay, here in Meru, Embu, and Kirinyaga. Now, this study hypothesized that tobacco production has a negative effect on household food security. Now, when you look at Bungoma County, it receives a lot of rainfall. The ecological conditions that are experienced there are conducive for the growing of tobacco. Both tobacco and other food crops. Now, in this study, the data was collected from 139 farmers, those who grew tobacco only and those who grew tobacco and food crops. Now, the data was collected using questionnaires, oral interview, direct observation, and focus group discussion with the farmers. The study results indicate that the region is food insecure, with majority of the tobacco farmers living below poverty line. That tells you that the farmers are very poor. They actually eat from hand to mouth. The results also indicate that the farmers grow tobacco because of the farm inputs that are given by the tobacco farm to the tobacco companies. It's because the farmers are very poor, they cannot afford to buy inputs. Now, the tobacco companies give them the inputs, and that is the catch. They take the inputs on credit, then they use the inputs, which is later deducted from their dues when they take the tobacco to the companies. The study recommends the formation of cooperatives that will give farmers inputs on credit, which will give them a choice to decide whether they wanted to grow food crops or they wanted to grow tobacco. Introduction. Now, FAO defines food security as a situation where all people have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food to meet their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life all the time. Now, food security has been a very elusive topic globally because many people in the developing countries do not know where the next meal will come from. Now, tobacco growing continues to thrive in the world because, without any opposition, because of the income that is received, actually the taxes that are received by the countries where the tobacco is grown. Now, tobacco also kills millions of people prematurely, but nobody takes note of that because of the income that the countries receive in form of taxes. Now, today, tobacco is one of the major cash crops in Kenya, which is grown on small scale. Most of the tobacco growing is on small scale. You will not find a very large farmer growing tobacco. Now, it employs a large number of farmers and also those people who are employed in the tobacco companies, and the number keeps on growing. Now, the main types of tobacco grown in Kenya are mainly Virginia leaf, which is flue cured. Flue cured means that it is cured in the barn using hot air that is passed through pipes. Then we also have dark tobacco, which is fire cured. That is, the tobacco leaves are dried using open fire. And then lastly, we have the barley, which is air cured, which means it is just put in the barley and in the barns, and then it dries, or it is dried in the sun, Now, tobacco, Bungoma County or Bungoma region grows all the three types of tobacco. Now, of course, tobacco growing has been embraced because of the income that is received by the countries. The methods. Now Malakisi is in Bumula County, which is one of the 9 sub-counties in Bungoma County. And the county produces a lot of food crops. That is maize in large quantities, which is the main staple food for the people, ugali. The other food crops grown are beans, sweet potatoes, millet, sorghum, cassava, banana, and many others. The climatic conditions, as I've said, are conducive for the growing of food crops and also cash crops, that is tobacco. The geographical requirements of tobacco, we find that tobacco mainly grows in areas that receive high rainfall, have fertile soil, and have high temperatures. Now also, we find that tobacco, it requires temperatures between 13 degrees to 22 degrees Celsius averagely, and then it requires dry season for the leaves to dry. Now, if the region receives too much rainfall, you find that it will increase the incidence of diseases. The dry season is required for ripening and the drying of the leaves. Data collection, as I've told you, as I've already said, was collected using oral interview questionnaires, direct observation, and focus group discussion. Now, the study interviewed the farmers, tobacco farmers, and we find that of the farmers interviewed, 62.3% grew tobacco together with food crops, while 37.7% only grew tobacco, with the aim or with the hope that they will get enough money from the tobacco farm to buy food crops. But that is very elusive because most of the farmers do not get enough money to buy food crops and other needs of the family. Primary data was also collected from BAT farmers, factory workers, who did not want to be identified because of their job security. The tobacco companies know that it is wrong, that the farmers are not getting anything, that the farmers are getting poorer and poorer, but they don't want anybody to tell the farmers that. So we also collected secondary data from Sacred Africa, which is an NGO that operates there, and various government institutions. The results of the study, one of the factors that have led to household food insecurity is the small farms of the farmers. The farmers own very small farms, and these farms are not adequate to grow both food crops and cash crops. So the tobacco farmers grew food crops and also grew the tobacco on very small farms, as I've told you, and we find that that was not sufficient for them. Of the 138 tobacco farmers that were interviewed, only 11.53 had grown the tobacco for more than 6 years, while the rest had grown for about 5 years. Now that means that the number of farmers growing tobacco are increasing every year. But we find that that has led to a lot of poverty in the region. 40.38% of the 138 tobacco farmers indicated that they had increased the acreage under tobacco. Now this is a very clear indication that the acreage under tobacco was growing at the expense of food crops. Most of the farmers admitted that they continued growing the crop despite the fact that they know that it is making them poorer because of the farm inputs that were given by the tobacco farms. The discussion, what I just want to say is that tobacco trading and prices are determined by the tobacco companies. The farmers do not have any say. And it reaches a time when the companies declare the tobacco leaves unsuitable. And you find that tobacco is a crop that cannot be eaten. So there's nothing that the farmer can do. If his crop is declared unsuitable, he throws it away. It cannot even be eaten by the livestock. And it becomes a very big problem which has affected their household food security. As I've said, the farmers grow the cash crop because of the inputs that are given. And in fact, the tobacco growing is very involving. The farmers do not have any time, or they have very little time left to spare for cash crop production. The farms should not have any fertilizer. there is the pruning, there is the weeding, so it involves the farmers almost all throughout the year, and the farmers do not have any time to tend to food crops. Now, a study carried out by Kariuki in 1999 showed that some of the tobacco farmers were switching to food crops, complaining that tobacco growing requires intensive labor and close care for long periods, and the earnings were too low compared to the time that they were spending in the field. This is also echoed by Magati, who concurred that tobacco farming makes the farmers to be very engaged, both male and female, and therefore they don't have time to tend to their food crops. Now, that is one of the major factors contributing to household food insecurity. If the farmers had time to tend to the tobacco and also tend to their food crops, you find that the area would not be food insecure. But it is because tobacco is very involving, and therefore the farmers do not have time to tend to food crops. Also, the study found that the farmers do not grow enough food, which I've already said. I think that's a repetition. And to conclude, I could say that tobacco production does not affect nutrition directly, but it affects nutrition because it has a negative effect on food production. This occurs when tobacco competes for food production, for resources with food crop production. It also becomes a problem when more time and labor is allocated to the cash crop as opposed to the food crops. That is the situation that is experienced in Malakisi, in Bungoma County, and that has made the farmers to be very poor. Now, this study found that farmers experience severe food shortage when their tobacco crop is affected by environmental constraints such as hailstones and unreliable rainfall, because as I've told you, tobacco cannot be eaten. Neither can it be eaten by their livestock. So if it is destroyed, the farmer goes without any source of income the whole year. So my question as I conclude is that, is tobacco production a blessing or a curse? Thank you.
Thank you, Natali. I'm happy to see somebody from Embu. We have a lot of friends there.
I know.
When you go back, greet the man who looks like me.
I will.
Yes.
And the other person.
Yes, all of them.
Okay.
Now, I think we've, and something which I learned from her, and I've kept on asking myself that question, and I'm saying it because of those ones who are presenting them, the master's papers. I always keep on asking myself, what's the difference between a PhD presentation and a master's presentation? Those ones who presented the master's presentations this morning, they were good, up to standard. The PhD was up to standard. If you look at the two presentations, you can start beginning to get the answers as to the difference between a PhD and a master's. As I hint, is the depth and the broadness with which the researcher looks at the problem, so that at the end of the day, it just becomes a kind of philosophical thought, like the one she exposed at the end of our presentation. And that is why, whether in maths, whether in biology, whether in medicine, it's a doctor of philosophy. With those remarks, can I welcome the three presenters to the floor? Oh, you are ready? So you want to join this group? Okay, yeah, we'll allow.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Caroline Gaki, currently a master's student in data science here at Meru University of Science and Technology, and I'm honored to take you through our project titled Low Cost Digital telepathology workflow for cancer diagnosis using open flecture microscope and AI integration in Kenya. So this work was in collaboration of the Meru University of Science and Technology, Meru County, and several other healthcare sectors. So I was not the only one who was doing this research. There are other people, including doctors, pathologists, and technical and clinical teams. So my presentation will be as follows from the introduction, problem statement, all the way to the conclusion and recommendation. So like we all know that cancer is the leading cause of death in Kenya, with over 44,000 new cases reported annually. And like you can see from the statistics there, cancer has been abundant in Kenya with very high incidence and mortality rates. It's still the case even now, and many people are losing their loved ones, and people are battling cancer. So one of the main reasons why cancer has been a burden or overwhelming, it's because of the shortage of pathologists. For example, you'll find that 4 pathologists attend to 2 million people, and you can imagine how the diagnosis takes time, and it takes a lot of time, and there is delays before somebody has been diagnosed. So traditionally, this is how the cancer diagnosis follows these manual steps, where we have the biopsy, extraction, processing, and slide preparation, and finally the microscopy examination by the pathologist. So this process usually requires specialized personnel and equipment, and that is often lacking in the rural and low resource settings, and that leads to delayed diagnosis. So this research employs the digital telepathology that addresses that gap, and majorly by integrating the AI, which is especially the deep learning, which becomes even more powerful because of speedy diagnosis and even accuracy. So challenges has been there over the years, and one of the major problems that we identified as a research team is that the rural cancer diagnosis is hindered by costly infrastructure and lack of pathologists. Also the physical transfers, where we have slides being transferred from the rural Kenya to urban areas so that the expert pathologist can review the patient's images and give results on time. Also, most existing AI and digital pathology solutions target only high resource settings, and also few models are affordable and locally adaptable or suited for low bandwidth environments. So our study developed a low-cost AI-powered telepathology system tailored specifically for the rural Kenya. So what motivated us is the availability of open source tools, and these days AI is common, and so it enhances diagnostic capacity by speeding the diagnosis. Also, in our research, we integrated the cloud platforms like the MyPathomission, where pathologists can log in from anywhere and access these samples from the patients in real time, and that speeds the diagnosis of cancer. Also, we leverage the Meru University technical capacity, and I'll be taking you through the methodology when I get there. So, our main objective was to develop and evaluate low-cost telepathology pipeline using open source microscopy and AI in Kenya. So specifically, we fabricated and deployed OFMs, that is the open flecture microscopes, captured and digitized histology slides, uploaded them to MyPathomission, where now experts review and annotate the images. We trained an AI model using publicly available data set, validated our AI model, and compared the AI predictions with the trained pathologist. Where we compared the results from our AI model and what the pathologists interpreted from the samples. So we reviewed previous studies and we focused on 5 main themes: cancer burden, health infrastructure, low-cost microscopy, AI dataset for histology, and deep learning applications. And after reviewing these previous studies, we identified one main research gap, that most existing studies focus on high resource or academic environments, and there is a limited research on affordable real-world deployment of AI and digital pathology solutions in rural, low-resource healthcare settings. So that is the gap that our research covers. So like you can see in the diagram there, that is an overview of our system. So once we get the prepared slides from the hospitals, we pass them through the open flexure microscope, and then once they have been scanned, they are uploaded to my Pathomation, which is a cloud-based platform where the pathologist can annotate, review the images, and give some feedback. So with the help of our AI model, which is the ResNet 50 V2, which predicts whether the cancer is benign or malignant. So by benign, I mean non-cancerous, and malignant, I mean cancerous. So the pathologists also give their interpretation, and then we compare the two. So basically, our AI model is supposed to help the pathologist, not to replace them, and also to speed the diagnosis. So we followed the methodology followed 5 key steps, where we fabricated the WFME at Mary University using the 3D that used PLA filament and assembled with a Raspberry Pi component or a camera that captured very high quality images. So histology slides or the images were scanned using the OFM, uploaded to my Pathomation, and then using our AI model that was trained on Reki's dataset, and then we deployed the model in the clinic. So we tested this in the real world setup. So that is a picture of the 3D printer, and that is me assembling the microscope. And that microscope is integrated with a Raspberry Pi camera that captures very high quality images for the pathologist and even for our model to detect whether the patient has cancer or not. So that is how they are uploaded to my Pathomation. So the pathologist can easily log in from anywhere, annotate the images, review them, and give their feedback. So the AI model was based on a ResNet 50 V2, which was trained using the Reki's dataset that had over 7,000 labeled images. Both were either malignant or benign, though there was quite some imbalance, something that we're still working on. And the model was trained on 8 epochs. By 8 epochs, I mean that the model went through the Reki's dataset 8 times. And then we evaluated the model's performance using the common metrics: accuracy, sensitivity, specificity, and ROC area under the curve. So the clinical deployment, so we did not just wake up and start doing our research. There was a clearance that was obtained from 3 regulatory bodies: Mary University Institutional Research Ethics Review Committee, Meru County Government Research Directorate, and NACOSTI. So the microscope, the microscopes that we fabricated were deployed at the partnering meaning for real world use. We install them at Mary General Level 5 Hospital, and then the pathologists on boarding were trained to use a digital microscope and navigate my Pathomation, which is a cloud-based platform, and then the system was integrated. So basically, those are the graphs. As I trained the model, on the left side, we have the training accuracy and validation curves. Like you can see, they increased continuously, and they were peaking at 95%, which is really good because that shows that our model was learning effectively. On the right side, where we have the training loss and the validation loss, the curves were decreasing steadily, and yeah, that is a good sign when it comes to training the AI models. However, if you can pay a close attention, there's a slight increase in the last epoch, and that is a sign that the model could have started to overfit, which is not good. That is why I stopped training the model at that 8 epochs. So here is the confusion matrix for our model. Basically, this confusion matrix shows how well our model works and some of the mistakes that it makes. So other than having a 94% accuracy that I will talk about, this gives us a clearer picture of how our model is working, where we have a true negatives of 481. That is how accurately our model could predict benign cases or non-cancerous cases. And where we have 28, those are false negatives, where our model misclassified samples for being positive. On the where we have 35, that is a model misclassified positive cases as benign, and that is a serious error that you can make in the medical world. And where we have 1040, those are the true positives, meaning that our model correctly predicted 1040 cases correctly. So here you can take a look at the confusion matrix. The true negatives and the true positives are many, which is a good thing, and the low numbers, maybe we can still work on our model to improve, to avoid these misclassifications, where the model is classified 28 cases for being positive and 35 cases for being negative. So here are the results, where we had a 0.99 for area under the curve. A perfect one has 1, so we were close. The accuracy of our model was 94%, sensitivity 90%, that shows it can identify malignant or cancerous cases very well. And then the specificity was 97%, meaning that it could identify the benign cases well. The pathologist, however, had an agreement of 60%. So there was a divergence, meaning that probably because we did not use local data set entirely to train the model, and that is why there is this divergence. However, it's promising because there's room for improvement. So key observation is that high sensitivity, but over prediction of the malignancy, and we need to get more local data sets to fine-tune the model. That sample over there is an image that was correctly identified or predicted as benign or non-cancerous with a confidence level of 98.44%. So key discussions that our model performed strongly with high sensitivity and specificity. The ROC area and the curve also confirmed strong classification. Pathologist agreement of 60% is also promising baseline. And our study also validates digital pathology deployment in low resource settings. Yeah, I'm almost done. Yeah, and finally, we can say that our model successfully met its objective, and AI performance was promising as well, and also the remote slide review via my permission was effective. And what we would recommend is that we get more locally annotated slides from the hospitals, and also maybe employ our model across different types of cancers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Gaki. I think that is a very nice presentation. I don't want to make further comments, but it's already, or it's because I don't understand some of the terms. That is very good. But I think it's very good because are you in the sound bites? Which one? Even where my tenure is at the beginning?
Yes.
Yes. And the other question, can we get access to see that lab? If anybody in the audience wanted to come to your lab,
Yeah.
can they come and see the microscopes?
Yeah.
Because I think I'll come next week. Thank you so much. At this point, I think actually between me and the chair,